the Wolf Connection podcast.
So we go back over to not North America, but we're in Europe, I believe still. We're coming from Estonia with our next guest. She reached out and wants to talk about wolves in Estonia, and I certainly want to learn more about wolves internationally. So this is a great chance to do that. She is a photographer, a wolf and forest conservation advocate, and also a nature guide in Estonia. And she is Eleri Lopp. So it's so nice to have you here. And, coming to me, I know it's, I think, 10 hours forward for you. But how's everything going?
Yeah, things are great. Our winter is very nice this year, and I'm enjoying winter. Possible to see wolf tracks finally in the snow, so I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that very much.
That's great. I mean, give everybody just a background on yourself. How was your childhood growing up? How influential was nature and the environment in your early years, and then leading into your photography and nature guiding as you got a little bit older?
Yeah, I have been living in the nature, in the countryside all my life, and never been in the city actually. I never lived in the city, and of course, when I went to the university, I went to the cities, but basically I have lived in the countryside. My playground was forest, and when I started my life, when I got children, I was home, and I thought that I don't want to go to work in cities, so I made a job for myself. So I made a small company, and I offered foreigners nature-related services, and already before that, I started as a nature photographer. And that time I just bought a camera, and just through practice I learned. And actually, nature photography led me to the nature conservation. And when I before that, I didn't know much about many things, what's going on in Estonia. Like, I didn't know about much the hunting system, or how this is going on, and what rules are there, and so on. And in many years, I communicated many times with hunters here in Estonia, and so I got a good background and information what's going on in that side. And after that, some things started to going on in my head, that some things didn't seem right, or what I heard about how they are doing it, and so on. And so then I continued, and I spoke with people in environment office, and I asked them about what is the situation and what they think about it, and so on. So I got the picture of their side, and then I reached to scientists here in Estonia, and today I can say that I have a fairly broad perspective of what is going on with nature and wildlife in Estonia through practitioners and theorists, and also what played a very good role in this journey is that I like to be in nature. In practically, I have walked thousands of kilometers on foot and traveled all across Estonia, tracking wolves for days at the time, year after year, and some patterns start to emerge. So in a way, I began to think like kind of like a wolf, and precisely because I have tracked them in the wild. And when you track them, then you understand and you start to think some things like what you haven't thought maybe before. And I must say that in Estonia, it's much harder to follow them, the wolves, than, for example, in Yellowstone. For example, I haven't never been there in Yellowstone, but what I have heard and seen, in Estonia, you never can take a scope and watch the wolves with the scope, and it's very dense forest and flat terrain. And our highest mountain is 360 meters, and I also using monitoring wolves by trail cameras. I have over 30 cameras, and over that is like a full-time job. So I want to keep it simple and don't want them to have more, because I do this wolf protection work is voluntarily. This is not my job, so this is like a hobby, voluntarily. And today I run 3 different NGOs through which I do my best to protect forest and large carnivores in general, not only wolf. And and maybe I speak a little bit one story about how my first connection with wolves. I spoke that I communicated many times with the hunters. So there was one hunter who took me to the forest and to teach me how to howl the howl wolves. So, and we went there a couple of times, and unfortunately we didn't hear wolves. We know that the wolves were there, but they didn't answering, and I thought that okay, and now I know approximately what sounds they are making and what I should do, and so I practiced at home. My kids thought that I'm going crazy or something, but whatever sound came outside from me, I went to this one place where I thought that there should be wolves around, and it was a little bit hilly place, a little bit up, and it was my first time I made the sound in the nature, in the wild, and it blew my mind because they answered for the first time when I tried, and this was like, for now, over maybe more than 10 years after, I think that this was like it. They're not howling, and they're not answering for you many times. So it was very special. Of course, I have heard them now between that time also many times. But yeah, this first time was, of course, special for me.
That's such a great story. I'd love for you to describe the landscape there in Estonia, because I was looking it up just before you logged in, and it seems that the majority of the country is covered by these dense forests. So just explain to those that are listening what kind of terrain and landscape you're walking through, you're guiding people through, and where this rich biodiversity lives.
Estonia is very flat, and it's boggy, wet areas. There are a lot of wet areas, and forest is typically like mixed forest, birch trees, pine trees. It's very dense, but in 20-year period, I would say, of course, we do the same mistakes like other countries, and a lot of forests have been clear cut, so there are more open areas now, but the forest area still is compared to the other European countries. There's a lot of forests, and not so much humans. So we have more animals and birds than humans. We have only 1.3 million people here, so it's not much. And but if we talk about where the wolves are, then basically everywhere, like not in the cities, of course, but the wolves, when I track them, when I see where they have gone, where they have walked, then basically everywhere, like forest, agricultural land. Not they're not living only in protected areas. They also living in places where forests are manageable. They cut the forest, and basically, yeah. But there are some patterns what I have discovered what they prefer. For example, if I start today to track a wolf, then they probably they go through all of this kind of landscape what we have here. But there are some nature protected areas where are wetlands like bogs. We have in Estonia, we have many bogs which are well received. They are not damaged. And so they're ancient times, like 9,000 years old from the ice age, and these are these places they like to like spend the night or the day. They like to sleep there or to rest there, and in some places also to do nesting area there. So those areas are like areas where they can breathe, where they can feel more relaxed. And yeah, basically they can travel through different kind of landscapes in Estonia. And in Estonia, we have like Estonian style countryside is that one house is here, one house is maybe 500 meters away and then kilometer away and so on. It's not all together. And in forest areas, it's very common that wolves pass these areas, the houses, like maybe even 50 meters from the house, and in regular basis. And there's nothing really uncommon or it's not rare.
So, are there specific populations that reside in Estonia, or do you see a lot of wolves traversing through different countries? Because I know Estonia is situated between a bunch of different countries. So, do you personally, or does the environmental agency see a lot of wolves moving through these different countries and sitting down in Estonia, or do they have specific packs and populations in your country?
Mhm. Well, Estonia is 45,000 like per kilometers. So it's not so huge area. So that we don't have in Estonia enough space for, let's say, full population. So in Estonia, we are sharing population with other countries. That means that our wolves are part of Baltic population, and that means that some live in Latvia, Lithuania, also Poland, and then some even Belarus, and also in Ukraine some part, and then very important part actually also in Russia. And yeah, and in the long term, actually, yeah, the status of Estonian wolf population depends very much on the situation in Russia. That means that we in European countries we have to take good care of the wolves in here, because we don't know what's going on. Russia is close, but we cannot manage that what's happening there. So yeah, there is there is proofs that wolves coming from Russia to here in Estonia, and also from Estonia going to Russia, and also from with Latvia. We are sharing some packs with Latvia, so there are some three. Usually like three packs who living halfly like in Estonia and halfly in Latvia. So yeah, and so that means that we need to cooperate with other countries also.
Do you see that pack sizes in your experience and in your research, do you see that pack sizes are typically smaller? I know when we've spoken with other European countries, wolf packs tend to be smaller, upward, maybe somewhere from even just a pair to maybe 5 animals. Is that similar to what you see in Estonia? That packs are smaller amounts of wolves and not just the large ones that we see over in North America where they're upwards of 15 or 20.
Yeah, in Estonia we never have recorded wolves packs more than like the maximum. What I know is maybe 13, and this is really maximum. And because in Estonia we also hunt them, also in the other Baltic countries. Then the problem is that the wolf packs never get too big. They don't get big. And typically when I have tracked them in winter and when I see them in trail cameras, I have noticed that in autumn, let's say in September, October, we have 8, 9, maybe 10, 11. My maximum what I have recorded is 8 in 10-year period. And then we can see those like this wolf family specs. I can see them, but after a few months, November is starting the wolf hunting, and then in winter I see like 2, 3. Once I have followed like five tracks, wolf tracks. So the hunting pressure is very huge, and the packs are not getting very big. And the studies have shown that the average pack age is about 2 years, less than 2 years, and also in Estonia the average wolf age is under 2 years. So that means that like we in Estonia we hunting every year almost half of the local population. So it's never get too big.
Before I get to the hunting regulations and things like that, because I do want to talk about that, what is your wolf tracking process like for yourself? Because you've been doing this, you've been saying for a decade. What are the things that you try to do, and what are the tools that you use for yourself to be able to record these wolves that you're seeing? I know you mentioned trail cameras, but what else are you doing? How long do you go out for? What's your process when you get out in nature and look for these wolves?
Yeah, like I said, in Estonia it's more harder maybe to spot them, to find. So the my favorite time is of course in winter. From spring to autumn, it's more quieter. So I rely more on trail cameras and listening the howling in the nature. So when it depends all on in winter. It depends on the snow. So if it have been snowing, for example, and in the it have stopped in the morning, so it means that they have enough time to make tracks. So so I go out and look for them. I use also a lot the car to drive around, because in Estonia we have in 20-year period we have made a lot of forest roads. It's all because of, when you cut the forest, you have to take them out somehow. So you have to have a big roads inside also in the forest. So and unfortunately, this makes wolves more visible, the tracks more visible. So you can. I never seen hunter going by foot in the forest. I always see them, by car, and so I look the tracks also in the roads where they have passed. And also I go to this landscape like bog areas. So I put snow shoes and I will walk and see where the tracks are. And but it sounds easy, but it's not easy, because the weather conditions can change and vanish the tracks, and there's so many things. In Estonia, it gets dark very early in the winter, already in 4 or 5 o'clock. So it means that they have little time to study the tracks. And in my practice, what I have seen is that when I communicate also with hunters a lot, and for example, I see 2 wolves coming in, then I follow where they came. I don't go the tracks like where they are going. I go backwards, so that I don't wake them up in the daytime when they're resting. So I have had some arguing with hunters, because they think that there are 3 pairs of wolves, but actually it is the same 2 wolves. And in Estonia, it's a problem, because Estonia is small. Like a wolf can travel like 50 kilometers even in one night, and that means that one hunting club can count the same. 7 hunting clubs can count the same wolves, like double. So this is basically what I have done, just to get the picture of what is going on in the forest. And this is where my confidence come, and when I speak with authorities and also with decision makers, and we'll see how it's going on in future. We started with the scientist. We started a new NGO in Estonia, and we want to do some studies which haven't been done in before. So we are now starting to collect private money, and to hope that we can do this, because in Estonia there's a lack of science also.
Before we get into all this, what are the effects that you've seen over the time that you've been in Estonia, with, like you were saying, roads going through these forests now, hunters that are not getting out of their cars? Do you see an ecological change from your perspective as a nature guide, and from taking people through the forest? What changes have you seen imprinted on the land since a lot of this clear cutting and these roads being put through? What have you seen in the changing dynamics out there in the ecology?
Yeah, definitely. Like there are changes also here in Estonia, and like I said before, there's a lot of clear cuts, and this means that wolves are more visible, and you cannot go in some areas by car, but now you can go basically almost everywhere, quite near. And the hunting is made more easily. Hunters can use these scopes, which the worm scope, what shows the animal in the dark, and they can shoot it. And in Estonia, we have a system like this that landowners can have a decision or can have opinion of how much ungulates like moose, deer, wild boar should be hunted. And in the late years, they have hunted quite a lot deers, moose, and now we have this wild boar African disease, and they now they started to hunt wild boars quite aggressively. Wild boar was one of the main food for the wolves, but now because of this African disease, the wolf have changed. They now eat more roe deers, but the roe deer is having also now bad times because like definitely there is, if I see the statistic how much they have hunted roe deers, then it's because of the hunting. We have less roe deers, so the hunting is affecting quite a lot, and the habitat loss is also affecting quite a lot. Still, we have half of our forest, our land is a forest area. Not all is old forest. Old forest, we have only maybe less than 1% of all forests. And yeah, and it's sad that we are going to make the same mistakes as other European countries have already done, and I hope that things are getting better, but you never know.
Talk about these regulations or what the parameters are in place, because you mentioned a few different things along the way about obviously hunting prey and ungulates and those populations declining. And then also there is hunting of wolves in these areas too. So, what protections are in place or what sort of regulations are there for not just wolves, but also the other prey species that are starting to dwindle now because of habitat loss and overhunting? How does Estonia work those laws in, and how does that affect everything going forward? I don't know if is Estonia part of the
Yes,
EU?
Estonia is a part of the EU, and
Okay. And
most of the large carnivores regulation is based on the EU Habitat Directive. And in Estonia, when we joined you in European Union in 2005 or so, then there was no regulation of wolf hunting. Like you could shoot wolves whenever, how much you want. But after the joining European Union, now there is regulations, and wolves are in habitat directive. They are in Annex 5, which means that they don't have in Estonia they don't have so strong protection than, for example, brown bear. Unfortunately, they don't have, but still, the bottom line is that all large carnivores in Estonia and in European countries are protected. In EU countries, all large carnivores are protected, and all decisions what you make, if you want to shoot wolf in Annex 5, you have to be very sure. You have to be very sure that the status of wolves are stable. They're in favorable conservation status, and you have to have good proofs, scientific proofs for that. Of course, like in Scandinavia and other countries, they're not very following the rules. So this is the same story in Estonia. And in Estonia is maybe how to say that in Europe they changed the wolf status they downgraded it. They made a very bad decision. It wasn't very scientifical, but still they made this decision. And this means that the same situation, what is happening now in Estonia, will probably start and have already started in other countries. Like I have heard some very bad stories about Finland, like very, very disturbing developments there. Also in Germany. So they want to change the success story of wolves in Europe a little bit not so much a success story, because they want to start hunting again wolves. So, and in Estonia, what we have in our country is that we have hunting season. You cannot shoot wolf all year around. And also there's quotas, like the environment office will tell you that how many you can shoot. You cannot shoot unlimited. And the numbers of wolves we have after joining you, we have had times where there have been only 20 wolves. But after joining European Union, the wolf numbers have been like 150 to 300 between that. In autumn we have more, in spring we have less, and it's quite not very stable. It's really going up and down, and in my opinion, it's the hunting haven't helped to avoid damages, because the main reason why they do hunting, they say that they want to avoid damages to livestock. And but in Estonia it haven't helped. Like if there is wolves and if there is a livestock which are not protected, the wolves will go there one day or other day, they will go. So there is regulation in European countries, and I'm glad that we are in European Union. The wolves have more protection in European Union, but the problem is problem in Estonia and also in Baltics and in Finland and so on. It's that they don't follow the rules. They don't follow the Habitat Directive, actually.
The Wolf Connection podcast is now sponsored by our new partner, Jacques-Marie Mage. This LA-based brand is known for their limited edition, handcrafted eyewear and luxury goods, but also for their stewardship program, which supports various nonprofits and individuals who are working to protect a future for wild wolves.
Well, this is what you were talking about in your email to me about protection on paper as compared to protection in the field. I assume that's what you're getting at, is that there are directives and regulations on paper stating that whether it's a wolf or bear or whatever animal it is, there are protections, I believe, backed by scientific data that you were talking about, sort of the environmental agencies, that aren't just being followed. Is that what you're speaking to, that there's some scientific data stating that we shouldn't be hunting or delisting or downgrading protections for some of these carnivores, and yet it still goes through anyway? Is that accurate?
Yeah. The problem is that they don't have these scientific papers which are like very valuable. There is none like. And the Habitat Directive is saying that you have to have proofs that if you shoot only this one wolf, that the favorable conservation status of this wolf, of this population, will not go bad. But there is no this kind of evidence. So they have in Estonia, they have this kind of action plan for large carnivores, where they are saying that if we have about 150 to 300 wolves between that, then they are in favorable conservation status. But actually in this action plan, this number is not, it's not scientific. It's just a number of what interest groups have in their mind, what they would like to see in Estonia. So I want to see, and also Habitat Directive is asking that you should have these studies, what haven't not been done here or even in Baltics generally, that how many wolves we can shoot. Like if there is like we in Estonia, we should have 500 wolves, then you should not shoot more than that, will go below that number. But we don't know that number. So we're just thinking. Of course, the
So
environment officers, they will say that they know everything very exactly and everything's very good, but there's no evidence.
So is it that the science isn't being funded to be able to conduct these studies to find out how much of each carnivore this landscape can actually hold and therefore make an informed decision on those numbers? Or is it something that is not proactively done by the government of Estonia or the EU overall for your specific country to make sure that these guidelines are being followed? What are the roadblocks there to have these scientific papers or this data being collected to make an informed decision like that?
Yeah, they're not funding this, and that's why we made this NGO to find some fundings and do this our own with the scientists. I think the environment office here, they see that in their opinion everything is fine and they don't need to do quite much. You know what? When I read about the science, what they do in Yellowstone or Italy or in Germany, like this is for me. If I see compared to this Estonia, I will see, wow, I want to have this also here. Like it's really we need to do some basic studies like this favorable conservation status, how many wolves we should have to have this long-term viability. You know, it's nothing that we don't know. And then also if we're talking about bears, we haven't put GPS collars in bears, and we don't know how much habitats they need and so on, and there's so much we need to know, and that's what I'm aiming. I have been in a court against the environment office for 7 years. I'm waiting the final level court decision, and I really hope that from there it's going to help wolves here, and the environment office, at least they start to do some studies so that the decisions what they make are science based, not in, you know, interest groups are saying that how much we should shoot, you know. It's so, and then should do these studies in cooperation of Baltic countries together, and this should be done, but I don't see any political interest, unfortunately, for doing that.
Is there any interest? I guess there's not, but it seems as though there's no tracking of carnivores whatsoever, other than yourself going out and getting them on trail cameras and following tracks and things of that sort. So there's no data even collected to make these decisions, overreaching decisions to cover these populations. Is there any interest, I guess, in looking at the ecological effects of all of these species sort of being trimmed down to these low numbers and seeing that the landscape is affected between clear cutting, between hunting, between, overuse of prey species? Is there any alarm bells going off for anyone in the environmental agencies in Estonia to see that the balance is sort of shifted away from what Estonia maybe could handle?
No, the public, officials, they don't see much problem. But the NGOs, what I run, we are trying to change here something. The the data what they have is coming from hunters. So if I see the decisions what they are making, like for example, if they decide to hunt 100 wolves, then they explain why that number, and then they collect data from hunters. So the hunting, we have like over 300 hunting clubs around Estonia, and they are collecting data and saying that, oh, we have here, for example, we have here one pack, and but this is like they get using trail cameras. They have, for example, like 500 trail cameras, 5,000, let's say 5,000 trail cameras, pictures and videos. And out of that, they are saying that we have 30 packs. But, when I want to know like exactly how this number is like made, like,
Calculated, yeah.
then it's not visible. Like I cannot get this information. And it's the same with the bears. And we don't hunt lynx, and this is because we have made already mistakes. They don't, of course, they don't say that it's because of the hunting, but obviously it is. I very strongly know that it is because, and they stopped the hunting of lynx in 2011, and the numbers of lynx didn't rise very quickly. And the hunters, they wanted to start hunting again last year. It didn't went through because environment NGOs, we wanted to stop, and then we managed to stop it because it's the same story. They don't have enough evidence, like how much there is anyway. Links, like it's all the data is collected by hunters, especially like a interest group. You cannot like see this information as a full truth. Of course you can use this, but you have to have, like, the environment office have to have more science-based and proved data to make this kind of decision.
Yeah, to your point, there's no collaring of any of these animals. Not that collaring is the only method to collect data, but when you don't see the pathways or the corridors that these carnivores are using and traversing through these different countries, you can't necessarily get an accurate depiction of one, maybe possibly how many individuals or packs that are moving through, but also where these populations actually stand because they traverse through so much. What are the concerns that get raised through the communities and through the people that you speak with as you guide and in a lot of these proceedings that you're in, that people feel about carnivores on the landscape or in these regions? It doesn't seem like livestock is a major factor, but I know you mentioned it. So what are the concerns that communities within Estonia have with these carnivores if they seem to be regulated to those wild spaces and not necessarily coming into cities or urban areas and interacting with people that much?
I just say one comment about these collars. They have
Sure.
put GPS collars to wolves in 20-year period for 40 wolves or so, but only in one specific area in southwest part of Estonia, where it's like kind of wolves protected area. But they now this spring, this autumn, they hunted wolves there also because there was a lot of problem with the livestock. So they haven't put GPS collars for the wolves all over Estonia like they do in regular basis, like in Yellowstone or in Germany. So we don't have the
Right.
and from these 40 wolves, we don't have this data. This data is only with this one person who have this, and no scientist, no scientific work have been done with this data. So this is also a problem. But your question, like the local people, most local people never see wolf in their lifetime. There's no problem. Like they of course they are in countryside. There is cases where wolf are killing house dogs and livestock. That is the main problem. But the media and some interest groups, they are exaggerating it. They're making a bigger problem than it is. But if you go to the regular people in the countryside, they never seen a wolf in their life, and there is no dangers or whatsoever. You can go in Estonian forest and walk. Only fear what you can have is we have this small animal, this insect sticks. Probably know this. You have there also. And they
Yep.
carry disease, and this you can think that is something you can scare, but not a bear, not a wolf. You really have to make efforts to see them. And this problem with the house dogs, I don't know. I have thought also why in some cases they go and kill the house dog, because when I track them and I see they pass some houses where I know there are dogs and they don't touch it. And in some cases, they just go and take it. And of course, the house dogs are outside the yard. Some cases they have also, now in Estonia, you cannot put, but previous year they were in this, trapped. The dogs had
Had a leash or a collar or something
no,
that they could.
like line, so they can not run everywhere.
Okay. Yep.
So it's
Mhm.
very easy prey for the wolf. And what I have noticed also in some cases, what also environment office have recorded, is that when a wolf pack is destroyed and there's coming new wolves coming in, then there is a period when they have more problems. Like I think it may be that new wolves make they see around, and then they see that what is the situation, and maybe they think that this house dog is a competition, and they don't like this house dog is parking there in the middle of the forest and catching their prey.
Yeah.
And the more stable you keep the backs, the less problems.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen those issues in North America as well, where if you take out a stable pack that has understood that livestock or dogs aren't really in their purview, they don't really care as much. And just because of being close to, they get eradicated, a new pack will come in and cross that boundary no problem. And that seems to be a lot of what we see in North America at times. With your NGO, what are the measures, if there aren't measures being put forth promoting coexistence or social tolerance or education surrounding wolves and bears and other carnivores? What are you and your NGO trying to put out there for communities to see about these carnivores and either their ecological positive impact, or just getting out regular information about where they hunt, what they hunt, why they do the things they do? How are you putting information out for the layperson to be able to understand more about these creatures if they're not going and trying to get it themselves?
Yeah, the we can rely on at the moment only for the NGOs who are doing this work to educate people, because I don't see much officials doing. Basically they see hunting as a main cure to everything. So this is mainly for volunteerly work, and we are doing together with some scientists. We are trying to educate people I do some walks where I collect people and they come and I will take them to the forest. I speak to them and I show wolf tracks or bear tracks, and I speak how to act if you see a bear, or how will you act if you see a wolf, and so on. And I also have a little podcast in Estonia, and I educate people here. And so basically, in social media, trying to and have some articles in media, and this is really basically what we are trying to do, and trying to do more and more. But I think it's everywhere in Europe and also in America that and some interest groups have a huge power, and they have a lot of money to spend to this public opinion to, like in Slovakia, it's have turned like in few years ago they were my role model, Slovakia, but now the political situation changed there, and now they're killing brown bears like rats in the streets and so on. It's have gone very, very bad, and all because of the political power has changed. And now the political power thinks that bear is a problem and we should hunt them, and they don't even talk about other measures like educating people and so on. I don't see that we in Estonia have this so bad situation at the moment, but still, for example, in this last year, I stopped bear hunting. So the court have stopped the bear hunting here in Estonia last summer, because it's against the European Habitat Directive, because it's a little bit harder to protect wolves because they're habitat in 5, Annex 5. It's a little bit easier to protect brown bears, but still the environment office they're trying to do everything to serve some interest groups needs. To be honest, like I don't want to I know that it's going on everywhere, that some interest group have somehow they have a big power, they have big power in politicians who make decisions, and in my opinion it's the same in Estonia. And unfortunately I don't I don't want to go to the courts, and this is what I want to do. I want to go to the forest and to study about these animals and speak about those, and to enjoy nature and the wildlife. But I'm how to say, I thought that when I'm outside in the forest, and if I'm only enjoying it, and I'm not doing nothing, just to try to do something good about for them also, for me this is only option. Like I need to speak out what is happening, and unfortunately the going to the courts is one of the option. And I hope that in Estonia we find some kind of consensus or something, and we start to speak more about measures, which are not which are non-lethal.
Is there, and I didn't ask this in the beginning, is there the same culture around wolves and carnivores in Estonia that we've sort of seen through other European countries, Germany, Italy, where there was this eradication of them hundreds of years ago, and it's the old way of thinking that's starting to come back in or seep into bureaucracies and governments, that even though they've rebounded in many places, in many countries, it's still something that we're not sure how to coexist with. Is that a true statement?
I think Well, I didn't said this before. Actually, wolf is our national animal, and yeah,
Really?
and also I know that wolf is national animal in 5 different European countries. But if you ask, do we treat them as a national animal, then I don't think so. But in Estonia,
It doesn't seem that way.
in Estonia, I think when you see the history and folklore, then I think Estonians are more like more nature friendly. Let's say our roots, like we have in our folklore, we have so many stories about wolves. We cared about wolves. We had some believings, and we have even 500 different names for wolves, because long time ago Estonians believed that if you call the name of the wolf, then the wolf will come. So to avoid it, they call them by nicknames. So in Estonian language, there are like over 500 different names how you can call a wolf. And this shows that and also in folklore, you can find that we really we respect wolf. And in Estonia, when you compare to the other European countries, then I see that in Estonia, we have this kind of connection with nature. Of course, nowadays, this modern life is taking over everywhere, but we still have, like, every Estonians have some summer house or country house where you can go and enjoy the nature. But yeah, the modern world is getting more difficult. But if you compare to this, like in other European countries, then all these large carnivores have lived here in Estonia all the time. They have never been vanished. There have been times when there are like maybe 20 or 10 bears, but they're never vanished. Of course, I must say that I don't know if it's because of what we have done ourselves, or because we have such a huge country beside us, our neighbor, a big neighbor. So I'm speaking about Russia. So, but we never did this kind of tortures like they did in Germany or in France, like, a lot of bad things, what they had done in history for wolves. So this, if you look back, then I could say that Estonians had big respect on wolves. This changed when some foreign power came in, the churches, and other religions, Estonians were more religions, more like nature religions people. They believe in nature. And they really had to motivate the Estonians to hunt wolves, because these new rulers really wanted to get rid of the wolves. So they paid money to locals so that they hunt the wolves. But if we are speaking nowadays, then I think we are equal to all other modern countries. I don't know if we are more tolerated or not, but if we are, there have been study made lately that said that regular people, local people, are very okay with large carnivores. But the problem comes, different view comes from the hunters and agricultural interest groups. So I think it's the same as I've heard from Sweden, from Germany. I've heard that the local people are fine. But what is the problem is that one small interest groups make very loud sounds.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what we've seen, the polarization of not just wolves but bears here in North America. It really seems as though the same tracks are starting to happen across the globe as these carnivores start to try and rebound and try and recolonize some of their natural landscape that they've lost over time. I want to ask you what you. I know you have a photo behind you that you've taken. I know you're quite the photographer. Is there any way that you try to use your photography to educate or share stories about wolves and other animals in and around Estonia to share it in a different way as opposed to trying to hammer people with science? Do you feel that sometimes a photograph or storytelling from your perspective as you're out there guiding helps move the conversation in a more neutral or in a way that we could see some people sort of crossing that imaginary boundary to look to coexist? Do you ever find that happening?
Yeah, I also try this course, and I know that the storytelling is very important, and I'm trying to do that as well. I do some exhibitions here and showing my pictures, and but what I have, what opinion I have is that we have so many beautiful pictures all over the world about wildlife. We have videos, we have nature films, this is not enough. I think for me, I think we need to do some real action also. But of course, the telling the stories is very, very important also. And I'm always trying the way how to do it more better, and I'm going to I go to schools. I speak with the kids, giving some information, and and but yeah, it's for me. I trying to do both. I trying to do some actions, and also I do this like storytelling events and hikes and so on. Because for me, yeah, in some point, I understand when I was out there photographing and have these beautiful moments. I thought that if I do this only, it's kind of egoistic. Like I take only the positive things out there, but is there like something what I can do for them also? Not only for photographing them and feeling positive emotions, it's so I try to do the both.
Hmm. What do you feel like people can do that are listening to this episode? How can they help in your plight over in Estonia? Are there ways for people to get involved? Are there websites to visit? Are there places where they can find information about what's happening? What are the best ways for people to get involved, to try and make change in Estonia and help with these carnivores and help with habitat loss as well? There seems to be a couple of different avenues there that are top of mind for yourself and I'm sure for others.
Yeah, they can reach out and contact me. I have many options how to help. Together with this scientist, now we are really hoping to do some basic studies about wolves and bears and also lynx. So if you have something in mind how to fund this, reach out and we can talk. And also from Instagram, I am everywhere, so you can Google me or find it my name in Instagram. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this has been an education in Estonia for me. It's good. I always like to learn about the history and to know sort of these different landscapes around the globe and know that uh, fortunately and unfortunately in some ways that we're all sort of doing or seeing the same sort of shifts in our landscapes, and how we try to bring ourselves back to those places. Um, Ellery, the last question I have for you is when you hear the word wolf, what's the thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah, this is the most harder question. Yeah. Of course, it have changed. changed time to time, and but for me, at the beginning, I little bit scared speaking about in about like how what wolf means to me. Like, of course, they means a lot, and if you are speaking with officials, you go to courts, you cannot say that they're very mystical and they're really like they are in my soul, but I'm scared that maybe people don't take me seriously, like I'm kind of wolf hugger or something. But what do I have to scare? Like nothing. And I don't really scare to talk about just wolf are really important to me, and they have changed my life. They have taught me a lot, and I think the one thing what comes in my mind when I think wolves is authenticity. Like if you most of us, we scared to look in the mirror, but wolves are this creature who make you to look to true self of you, and this is I'm very how to say thankful for the wolves, actually, what they have taught me, and they are very important animals.
Well, thank you for your authenticity and for all that you're doing over in Estonia and sharing your stories with people. I truly appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Just hang tight while we sign off. Eleri Lopp, and we're only going to have all of her stuff in the description of this podcast, so you guys can check out photography, Instagram, things like that. How's to y'all out there? We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Looking for more information about Wolf Connection or the podcast? Visit our website at wolfconnection.org, where you can donate, sponsor a wolf, or become a volunteer. Thank you for listening.